I'm starting off by priming my lids with the Smashbox 24-hour eye primer. Now I'm using the Laura Mercier translucent powder to set from brow bone to crease. You can use any like skin toned shadow. This just makes it easier for you to blend out any shadows you're gonna put on your eye. Now I'm going into the palette using the shade Princess. I'm taking a fluffy brush and I'm putting that into my crease. As you can see here, I'm not really blending that on the outer V of my eye. I'm kind of winging that out and I'm leaving that bottom part kind of empty. Going back into the palette, I'm using the shade Royal Prerogative and I'm just going to blend that in on top of the pink that I already applied. This will deepen up the crease and give the eye more dimension. I realized that the look was turning a little bit too brown and I didn't want that, so I went back into the palette with the shade Princess and I just took the fluffy brush and blended it on top of that brown that I applied. So I didn't realize that my camera had completely stopped while I was in the middle of cutting the crease. So essentially what I did for that was I used the Urban Decay Primer Potion in Eden. Sorry guys, I had to pause this for a minute. So the reason that I use this is because it is a primer and it does have a tint to it, and being that I have hooded lids, it works very well to like blank out anything that's on my lid, and it also works very well for the shadows to adhere to it rather than putting concealer, which you might have possible creasing. And I took a flat brush like these, took the brush and I just went right on this little thingamajigger, right on the doe foot, and I patted on there, put some of the primer potion on the brush, and I cut my crease. So what I did is right above where right above where my eye folds, I started drawing the line out to cut the crease work that I had already done. It's not like an even line, but once I apply the shadow on my lid, you'll see the difference. So yeah. Okay, so back to this voiceover. Now I'm taking the shade Princess, which is the same shade that I used in my crease initially, and I'm just applying that on the lid. Now going back into the palette with Royal Prerogative on a pencil brush, I'm just defining that crease a little bit more. Now for my face, I'm using the Benefit Pores No More and I'm applying that everywhere where I have pores, so my nose and the cheek area. Then on the outer perimeters of my face, I'm using the Hangover RX by Too Faced because it's hydrating and my face has been so dry because of the winter here in New York. For foundation, I'm using the Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation in the shade Beige, and I know it looks like it might be a little bit too dark for me, but I use my foundations to match the color of my body, not so much my face. I typically use a beauty blender to blend in most of my foundations, but being that it's a stick foundation, I decided to use a brush. I like the way it looks better with a brush, and this is the Morphe M439. And if you see, I first buffed it in just to make sure that everything was like blended around my face, and now I'm kind of like stippling it with the brush just to make sure that there's like a seamless finish to it. Now moving on to concealer, I'm using the Tarte Shape Tape, and the shade that I'm using today is the light medium one. I usually use medium, but I realized that the foundation, like my face looked flat, so I used this one so it could give my face a little bit more dimension. First, I'm stippling everything in with a brush, and then I use the Real Techniques beauty sponge thingamajigger to like blend everything in and make sure that there's no brush marks anywhere. Now going back in with the Laura Mercier translucent powder, and I'm just using the sponge to apply some of that under my eye and set the under eye area. I didn't leave it on for as long as I normally do because my skin has been a lot drier now that it's winter, but I still tend to get oily in my T-zone. So I kind of just like wipe that right off, and then I swirl the brush on the rest of my face to set everything. So now I'm going back into my eyes, and I'm using the shade Air from the palette, and I'm just dusting that on the brow bone area. Now I'm using the shade Ladyship in the palette, and I am applying that on the lower lash line. When I apply the shadow, I'm also kind of extending it out to meet where I cut the crease, almost as if it was a reverse wing. Then I'm going in with the shade Noblewoman, which is a beautiful shimmery purple color, so it just gives it like that extra pop. I'm putting that also on the lower lash line. So I did my wing off camera because if you see from my last video, it's nearly impossible for me to do this while filming. And for mascara, I'm using the MAC Extended Play Giga Black on the top and lower lashes. For lashes, I'm using the Ardell Faux Minx lashes in the style 812. You'll see here that when I was applying this lash, it was giving me like a bit of trouble, and I was gonna edit it out, but there's no point. Like, it's real life, it happens. So yeah. Moving on, I'm using this Anastasia waterproof cream color in the shade Barbie Pink. I do not think this is available anymore, but I'm using that same flat brush that I had earlier, and I'm just applying it on my waterline. Now I'm using the Marc Jacobs Tantric bronzer to bronze up my face. Now I'm using the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette, and I'm taking the middle contour shade and I'm just applying that on the hollows of my cheekbones. With a smaller brush, I'm also using that contour shade to snatch that nose. When I blended that contour, it was a little bit too messy, so I'm taking some of that translucent powder and I'm just like carving it out to clean it up, and then I'm just wiping that right off. For my highlight, I'm using the NARS Unfiltered palette. I don't remember if this was 1 or 2, but whatever, it's the pink one. So I'm using the Hot Sands shade, and I'm highlighting the tops of my cheekbones with that shade. Now I'm using this Ambient Strobe Blush palette by Hourglass, and I'm using the purple shade mixed with that middle brown shade to blush my cheeks. Once my powders are all applied, I'm using the Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray to set my entire face. Excuse the mess going on my lips right now, but I was trying to see if that is the color that I was looking for the look, and it was. So first I'm lining my lips with MAC Night Moth, and then on top of that I'm using the NARS Velvet Cream Lip Glide. I think that's the name of it, in the shade Toy. That was it for the final look. Thank you guys so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you like the look. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.